The fallout from the Mark Wahlberg-Joy Behar showdown didn't just end with trending hashtags and a few late-night jokes. Over the following week, The View became a flashpoint in a broader cultural debate, one that touched on redemption, religion, Hollywood hypocrisy, and whether talk shows had become too combative to allow genuine conversation. Producers scrambled to manage the buzz. Joy Behar remained unrepentant on air, even quipping, "Next time someone walks off, maybe at least finish the coffee." The line drew laughter from the audience, but behind the scenes, it wasn't so funny. Advertisers were uneasy, sponsors were calling, and even some longtime fans wrote in, accusing the show of being hostile to faith-based guests. Meanwhile, Mark Wahlberg was doing the opposite of lying low. He booked interviews with outlets that weren't known for drama: Good Morning America, People magazine, and even a surprise segment on a Christian podcast that usually focused on small-town pastors and Bible study groups. In each interview, he emphasized the same message: growth should be encouraged, not mocked. In a heartfelt conversation with People, Mark opened up more than he had on The View. "Look, I've made mistakes. Everyone knows my past, I don't hide it, but I've worked hard to be better, for my family, my community, and even my industry. I'm not here trying to be a saint. I'm just trying to use what I've learned to help people avoid the same traps." Photos of Mark spending time with his kids, leading prayer sessions at his gym, and volunteering at a youth center in Boston surfaced, painting a stark contrast to the viral clip of him clashing with Joy. The public was divided, but his supporters were growing louder by the day. Back at The View, tension simmered among the co-hosts. Whoopi Goldberg had remained mostly neutral during the incident, but privately she expressed concerns to producers. "If we can't host a guest without turning it into a courtroom, then what are we even doing?" Sunny Hostin, herself a woman of faith, gently criticized Joy's approach on a later episode, saying, "There's a way to challenge someone respectfully. It's not about ambushing, it's about dialogue." Joy, still defiant, responded, "If someone wants a church sermon, they shouldn't come to The View. We ask tough questions. That's our job." That night, a leaked clip from the post-show meeting went viral. In the footage, Joy could be heard saying, "Mark Wahlberg walked off because he couldn't take heat. That's not my problem." The backlash was immediate. Even some of her longtime fans called for an apology. Mark, however, didn't take the bait. Instead, he announced that a portion of the proceeds from his new app would go toward programs supporting incarcerated youth, a nod to his own troubled past. "If you're gonna talk about where I came from," he said during a press conference, "you better talk about where I'm going." The statement hit home. Mark wasn't just weathering the storm, he was redirecting it. Within 10 days, he'd turned what looked like a PR disaster into a rallying cry for second chances. His app hit #1 in the health and fitness category. Requests for speaking engagements poured in. Even schools started asking for copies of his motivational materials. And then came the unexpected twist. A handwritten note arrived at Mark's production company office. It was from Whoopi Goldberg. "Mark," it read, "you and I may stand on different sides of the table, but I respect anyone who stands firm in what they believe. If you're ever ready for a real conversation, with less noise and more honesty, you've got my number." No cameras, no hashtags, just a note. Mark folded it up, smiled, and said to his assistant, "Keep that. Frame it." Because in a world that thrived on viral arguments and cancel culture, respect, real, mutual respect, was the rarest headline of all. 2 weeks after the now infamous View confrontation, the buzz hadn't faded, it had evolved. Public opinion had begun to tilt more heavily in Mark Wahlberg's favor. Editorials emerged praising his composure under pressure, his refusal to retaliate personally against Joy Behar, and his post-show charitable efforts. Meanwhile, The View was experiencing a different kind of heat, an internal reckoning. Ratings had spiked initially after the blowout, but by the second week, viewer sentiment shifted. Emails flooded ABC from fans demanding more conversation, less confrontation. A petition circulated online urging The View to invite Mark back, with a different moderator. Joy Behar, for the first time in years, appeared rattled. Her quips had become sharper, almost defensive. Even her on-air allies began to tread more carefully. "You poke the bear long enough," Whoopi warned during a commercial break one morning, "eventually the bear pokes back." Behind the scenes, producers proposed a bold move: invite Mark back for a reconciliation special. Not a full sit-down with the entire panel, but a focused one-on-one conversation, perhaps hosted by Whoopi or Sunny. The idea made its way to Mark's team. To everyone's surprise, Mark didn't immediately decline. "I'm not interested in a fight," he said to his PR advisor, "but maybe we need to show people how to move past one." Mark had one condition: the discussion had to be unfiltered and respectful. No gotcha questions, no audience tricks, just two people talking like adults. Joy was less thrilled. "I don't do apologies for telling the truth," she scoffed. "If he wants to come back, he better be ready for real talk, not a love fest." After several days of negotiation, ABC announced a surprise primetime special, Beyond the View, Wahlberg one-on-one with Whoopi. Joy would not be present. The news ignited another round of headlines. Mark's supporters called it mature closure. Joy's defenders labeled it corporate damage control. The special aired live on a Thursday night. The set was simple: 2 chairs, warm lighting, and Whoopi Goldberg as the moderator. No audience, no applause signs, just a conversation. Mark began calmly, "I didn't come here for revenge. I came because things got out of hand, and I think we can do better, for each other and for the people watching." Whoopi nodded. "People grow. That's real. And that's why we're here." The conversation covered Mark's past, his transformation, his faith, and the way media sometimes fuels division instead of unity. Whoopi didn't go easy on him, but she also didn't interrupt, mock, or try to one-up. At one point, Mark addressed Joy directly, even though she wasn't there. "Joy, if you're watching, I don't hate you. I don't even dislike you. I think we disagreed, and maybe we both got heated. But I forgive, and I hope you do too." It was honest, human, raw, and for many viewers, it was healing. The next morning, Joy Behar did something nobody expected. She addressed the special live on The View. Alone at the table before the co-hosts joined, she looked into the camera and said, "I watched it, and you know what? Mark Wahlberg's a bigger man than I gave him credit for. Maybe I did push too hard. Doesn't mean I'll stop asking questions, but maybe I could have asked better ones." It wasn't quite an apology. But for Joy Behar, it was as close as anyone had ever seen. The studio audience applauded, not wildly, but respectfully. And from that moment, the tone of The View began to shift ever so slightly. Not softer, just wiser. Mark Wahlberg returned to his projects with renewed support and credibility. And though he never set foot on The View stage again, he left behind something far more valuable than a viral moment. A lesson, one about second chances, one about standing your ground without losing your grace. And most of all, one about how even the loudest voices can choose, for once, to listen.